Okay, I'm just waiting for the stream to come into the feed here. There we go. I see it. All right. So, da, 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 da. All right. Let me shift one more screen here. Okay, so the notification just went out. Awesome, awesome. I got you, Shelly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I think that'll do it, y'all. I think that'll do it. I want to say good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to welcome you to today's session of Institute for Higher Consciousness. Thank you so much for joining me on today. Joanna G, I see you out there in Twitch. Blessed Saturday morning to you as well. This is Institute for Higher Consciousness, and you all know one time per month we have an open session for those that are out there. KK79, I see you, sis. Appreciate you. For those that are not in the class on a regular, but you have a mind to come in and hear what we're teaching and talking about, on typically the first weekend of every month, we will come in and have that open session, but we've been out for 2 weeks. Last week was Resurrection Sunday. And so I hope you all had a good time just being with your family and enjoying that. Kai Chick, I see you. Good morning to you, sis. Mad love to you in the classroom. Rebel, I see you. Shelly Thunder, I see you all. My mods are in the stream, so they are taking care of us out there as well. I want to say good morning to you. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Once more and again, this is Institute for Higher Consciousness. I am your spiritual thought leader, Regina L. Stillman. And I want to thank you once more and again for coming into the class session on today. We're going to get right on it and hopefully maybe allow you to redeem some of your time on this Saturday morning. It's a lot going on. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful, beautiful day already. And I want you all to be able to get out there and enjoy it. Now, kind of to bring us back to a recap, we have been talking about chakras. We've been utilizing the book, The Hidden Messages in Water by Brother Masaru Emoto. And it has been a wonderful, wonderful session. It really, really has. Peace and blessings to you. Peace and blessings to you. I see you all talking to me. Susan, I see you coming in. Kai Chick, Dr. Dady Priest, I see you. The classroom, I appreciate the students that are coming in. Good to see you. Dr. Dady Priest, good morning to you, sis. Mad love to you and good to see you in the room. Now, again, for those that are, this is our open session. I'm going to say this one last time, and then we're just going to go for what we know. This is the open session for the month of April because we missed the first 2 weekends. And so once more and again, I'm going to do a recap. The Hidden Messages in Water is the book that we are studying from. Even those of you that are not in the class, I want to invite you to go right ahead and purchase that book if you would like to. It is a phenomenal book. We've been studying out of it. We are on the second chapter and we'll continue to go from there. We're going to wrap up chapter 2 today, but we had a beautiful, beautiful time. Susan Fairley, otherwise known as Fairley All Day, did an excellent job teaching on chakra balancing. I think everybody in here that was actually in those classes can attest to the fact it was a very, very powerful teaching. Would love to get feedback from anyone that would like to share how you're going and how you're growing with that. Susan, I want to once more and again say thank you to you. Those 2 classes were absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to have 2 Tams give us her testimony. I won't do it today. We'll get back to that. If you would, 2 Tams on next Saturday in Saturday's class when it's a closed session. I'd love for you to retell and share the story that you experienced. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I was going just very hurriedly on that Saturday. And that's the only thing that I failed to record. So I do want to capture that, because I'm telling you, it blessed my whole shondo. It absolutely positively did. It blessed my whole shondo. And I do want to listen. I'm tickled again, Shelly Thunder. Every time you saw me chuckle, it's every time I think of it, Two Tams, something that I see you, Rebel, you too. Every time I think about that, I just get tickled, because listen, that right there. And I think the best part for me, Kai Chick, y'all know that was the funniest thing. I got to capture that. You got to relive it if you would. She said, oh, I got to relive that. Susan, it was hard for you to keep a straight face, but when you said too much energy. Okay, don't let me get started, because I'll get tickled and I won't get through the rest of the class. But listen, it was the trash can praise. It was that trash can praise from me. I tell you, it was that was priceless. I wish I could have captured it the first time, Two Tams, but chalk it up to my ineptness, because I did not have the recorder recording at that particular time. But I got to capture that story. I just got to capture that story for posterity's sake, because it was the best. It was the absolute best. Now, she did 2 sessions on chakra balancing. And I'm not going to go through a lot of Who Shot John, because some of you that may be here from outside the class, we're not going new age and all the places that people may want to go with that. That episode, or those episodes, will be up for on-demand viewing for those that would like to see it when it's ready. But it was just a very, very powerful and apropos. It was perfect for the teaching that we've been doing. Now, we're talking about the hidden messages of water. Let me go ahead and get ready to get that set up so that we can share. And hopefully, I want to try to get this. Let me know. I tried to set it up today so that everyone could see it wherever you're streaming in from. Hopefully, let's see. There we go. I think we can see that in all platforms. I know before you were unable to see in some of the platforms. I only had it set up where you could see it in the class, but hopefully you can see it in all platforms today. Now, The Hidden Messages in Water is a powerful book. We're addressing the fact that everything in this earth begins, ends. Our bodies are majority water. I want to get to where I want to start today. But water was here in the beginning before God started creating everything else that we recognize as here on the earth. In Earth's atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere has water. We talked about the idea that the world could literally be considered like a liver system in the universe, where water comes in, is filtered, kidneys filtered in, and then filtered right back out into the atmosphere. And what was potentially a cleansing for the system, the solar system, I would say at this point, maybe not so much, because we have polluted so very much in our system. I'm going to start here, and just as a recap, before we came in, 713, good to see you. Come on in here. Glad to have you here. Again, this is Institute for Higher Consciousness, and this is our open session. So we started with this idea of hearing and the water's ability to hear, not only the water's ability to hear, but the water's ability to remember as well. I want to come here with human hearing, and this is where we kind of got into chakra and understanding things about everything is vibrating. Everything, as I said, the mouse that you're handling on your computer, the computer board, the chair that you're sitting in, the desk, the whatever. Everything in this universe is vibrating, and it may not be where you can identify it and see it, but it is vibrating. So then as we come into the understanding that vibration is what creates sound, and so we start talking about human hearing. I want to go back and recap once more and again. Human ear is from 15 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Now that's a cycle. A hertz is a cycle per second. A hertz is a cycle per second. So the human ear is operating at 15 hertz. And that's times 1,000, as a matter of fact. 20,000 hertz is where we can hear, somewhere in that range. We already know, like with your dogs and many in the animal kingdom, they have a wider range of ability to hear. And we as humans do not have as an acute hearing that way with the human ear. However, one of the things that we begin to identify when we start talking about, and again, this is the boss energy path, when we start talking about moose, not mooses, come in, good morning to you, I see you there. When we start talking about hearing, we talk about opening up where you use all of your sensory perceptions, including what some people would call the third eye, or your intuitiveness, or your, some people would say extrasensory perception, or wherever you want to go with that. The ability to begin to perceive not only with the five senses, but to also pick up frequencies and energies and begin to understand at that level as well. When we talk about, again, human hearing, master listeners to receive sound. We are, and the earth is, master listeners to receive sound. Or you can become, let me say, a master listener to receive and perceive sound. And with that, I would say you have the ability and the capacity. It's just a matter of whether or not you open up yourself to begin to understand frequencies and to begin to understand vibration, to be able to extend beyond that 15 to 20,000 hertz level. So again, if we utilize all of our senses, we can become master listeners to receive sound, not just the audible ear, but all vibrations. So when we talk about people that are like, you all remember the show Ghost Whisperers, or, you hear people talk about tree whisperers. I met an individual that is literally a person that goes around and heals trees. And this is something, yes, when we start listening to our bodies and everything in the environment, 713, you're exactly right. When we open our hearing to the vibrations and frequencies overall, not just the limitations of the restricted ear, what I can hear with my ear, but open yourselves up to hear all frequencies. So we start talking about master listeners and then coming into whispers. Again, I met someone when I was in, where was I at? I was in Branson in the Ozarks. And this individual shared that they go around and they literally heal trees. This is no joke. They literally hear and understand and communicate with trees, and they literally go from place to place where trees are sick and they commune with the trees and the trees heal. This is no joke, and I'm not making this up. And where some of you might be like, oh, STL, you really believe that person? Yes, I really do. There was something very intuitive about that individual as I was talking to him and as he was sharing. And please let me say this, and being paid plenty of money as a tree whisperer. Hear me, being paid plenty of money as a tree whisperer. Trees are the oldest of our ancestors. And I believe it. Trees, even when you talk about the rings of the trees and what all the trees have seen, what all the trees have experienced, the life and the history of what has happened in the world many times can be identified from the trees. And again, when you begin to slice those trees and get cross sectionals of the rings, they're speaking history to us all the time of what they've seen. Or maybe if we go back to, even for some that can't embrace that kind of concept, even a Dr. Doolittle, who had the ability, as they say, to talk with the animals. I think it's that, again, ability to be able in a vibrational way, in a vibrational state, to have that level of understanding where they can comprehend, talk, and share. And we call those nowadays whisperers. But I'm saying, again, if we became master listeners, and i.e. whisperers, because some of you will find that in certain areas you have a proficiency, you have, what do I want to say, an ability, if you will, to have a specialized area that you understand that other people don't get. I would say that Michelle Brownell is like a medical whisperer. I think a lot of our medicine men and medicine women of times gone by, in our past and in the present, I believe that there are whisperers in the area of medicine, that it's not because they studied it. It's not because they took classes here and there, but just naturally, somehow, intuitively, they are whisperers with the body and with the healing arts. So I think that we all have this ability if we would just learn to tune into it. So at the end of the day, this idea of human hearing, when we talk about it from the hidden messages in water, we're not just talking about what the ear can hear, but we're talking about all the way across the board. So become hearers and not just observers of what's going on, but become hearers so that you can move into the place that we're talking about. Now, we move to this idea that water as well, because water is alive. You know, I have a dear friend that shared this as her father was a person that was in the Navy, and there was always a respect given to the water. There was always a respect that was given to the water because the understanding is that water is alive. Michelle, good morning. I was just talking about you. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I do believe you're a healing whisperer. I do. The healing arts. I think you're a whisperer in that area. Now, so we talk about the water's ability. So many times we don't think about the water as being alive, but water is alive. Water is a living entity. Don't believe it. Let that water become stagnant and die. You will smell it. It will kill everything in its path, everything that's in it, everything that's around it. You let that water, quote unquote, die and become stagnant and become contaminated. And you will understand that water is living, breathing, moving. It's alive. So when we listen and think about water and its ability to hear, the results of crystal formation by music, words, and writing. As we learned in the book from, and this again stems from Dr. Emoto's ability to study the crystals under microscopes and see what those molecules presented. We begin to see that certain types of music created certain crystallizations of the water, whether it was heavy, whether it was hard, whether it was ugly. It accordingly heard what it heard and then produced crystals as a result. Then if we look at the words that were spoken, and I love this about the experiments because it was not just the audible word, but if you all remember, it was the writings as well. When they took and wrote a word and then taped it or placed it around the outside of those vials of water, it still created the same end, whether it was a spoken word or whether it was a written word, and those crystals materialized accordingly. So everything, even I don't care what it is, it has that vibration, and that vibration, again, where do we get sound? It's nothing more than vibration. We get that vibrational transference, and water had the ability, as we see in these experiments, to actually translate and interpret what those words were saying. Now, as we said on the other week, and I'm not going to go back and reteach, but I will recap for those that are just here for the first time in the other platforms outside of the classroom. We understand that words are really symbols that we created, and those words were derived to try and express what they saw and what they heard. So it was a matter of trying to create a word to match what you saw. And that language, in every language, you know, according to the locale, according to different things that determined what those words and symbols came to mean, at the end of the day, as we saw with the crystals and the water, it didn't matter what language the words were spoken in, the interpretation and the vibration was the same. So it didn't matter if over here you heard it in Mandarin and you wrote in whatever language, and then over here on the other side, you had somebody doing it in English. It did not matter because it all represents the same thing. The vibration and the frequency that comes off from that is the same. It doesn't change because you're in another location. The language only changes because how it's represented represented in this group versus how it's represented to this group, and how that developed through the etymology of their words. All of that makes a difference how it comes to pass. However, overall, it is the same frequency. It's the same vibration. And so it transcended the different languages. Understanding that everything is a vibration, water is so sensitive to the unique frequencies that are being emitted. It does have the ability to respond to both to all the music, the words, and the writings. There was no hindrance there. And I want us to understand, when we start moving and understanding the hidden messages in water, and one thing that you hear me say now, flow is my religion. Flow, Flow. Flow is my religion. Why do I say that? Because as we begin to flow, as we undam ourselves, and again, the majority of what we are created is water. Our bodies are predominantly water. As we understand how we can begin to be at one, how we can begin to be at peace, even as, said it early 7:13, as we begin to understand this is what our bodies are comprised of and get in tune with our bodies, you're really getting in tune with the flow and the frequency and the vibration of yourselves. So water is sensitive to all of those frequencies. Essentially and efficiently, it mirrors the outside world. If you've ever gone up to a really clear body of water and been able to look into that water and see the image of yourself, flow in the waterway. Come on in here, SK8843. Good morning to you, Empress Meow. So glad to have both of you with us. So yes, flow in the waterway. This is the place that we're trying to help everybody to understand the power of flow. I believe the healing that we want to see in the land is going to come from more of us beginning to understand flow and getting in the flow. So it becomes the mirror of the outside world. Now, again, we had where Dr. Emoto went to different locations where trauma and tragedies and travesties had occurred, and they took those crystals from those places, especially like Tokyo, especially in places like Nagasaki and Hiroshima, whichever way you want to pronounce it. And we saw as those crystals were so fractured and so devastated. And so, because again, it's mirroring the outside world. It's mirroring the trauma that was experienced in that location, in those locations. And it begins to mirror it. And what do you get? Completely fractured and devastated pictures of those crystals. Now, written words, I've already covered that, also emit a vibration, and therefore the water is able to sense it. So words, in the beginning was the word. Before the creation of the universe, there existed the word created human beings. I'm gonna say that again. The word created human beings. All things were made by the word, and without the word was not anything made that was made. Human beings in turn learned words from nature. In these primal times, humans were much more in tune with hearing nature. So this is where I want us to understand. I want you to hear, not just with your ears, not just with that limited level of hertz that you hear from 15 to 50,000 hertz. I want you to be able to hear with your entire being. So the change in language is not a barrier to understanding the vibrations, and the fundamental principles of nature are the same. We talked about the pollution of Tokyo water sanitized with chlorine would not make crystals because it was contaminated. Information in conflict with nature cannot form a nucleus. Now that's huge. Information that's in conflict with nature could not form a nucleus. Now we know that everything that exists in the world is made up of atoms. And so we even took it one step further than that. In our current knowledge, we understand that if you take the atom and the smaller particle, even from that, is the quark, Quark. So if we understand and believe it, one day they'll have something smaller than the quark, because the more they're able to split it, the more they're able to divide it, the more they're able to get down to the core. It will just keep going to the nth degree. But if we understand that at the core of each of those is a nucleus, because that's just natural, that's nature's way, that there's a nucleus, there's something at the very center that's always holding it together. There's always something at the very center that's always holding it together. So when you find anything that was in conflict information that was disseminated, that was in conflict with nature, it could not form that nucleus because it could not grasp or grapple with that core. And I would say from the spiritual element and the spiritual aspect, I would say that is that which is higher than we are, that higher being, that God force, that, whatever way you want to identify it and express it. But there is something at the very central that holds everything else together. So when it got into this space and this place, if it was contradictory, that information did not agree with nature, it could not form that nucleus. In my sense of understanding, again, because it is not in agreement with what holds everything together, which for me is that higher being, that God nature, that higher power, whatever you want to identify it as. Now, gratitude and love versus words that revile, harm, and ridicule. Gratitude and love, those types of words, that kind of energy absolutely positively sent forth the most beautiful crystals, while we saw the reverse of that. Words that were reviling, harmful, and ridiculing, those crystals could not form in a beautiful way at all. So we look at the comparison of nature versus man-made. Now, I'm going to come here very quickly because I need to wrap up. I'm coming to the conclusion of this class. I want to make sure, I want to try to get all of the slides in for this session. Now, there is what's called the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti theory. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti theory that Dr. Emoto starts to talk about. He talks about human beings holding a universe within filled with overlapping frequencies. Now, if you stop and think about yourselves, and even as I believe it was 713 said earlier, learning and knowing and hearing your body. This is really what we start talking about and begin to identify here with the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti theory. Those seven, and I can talk to you about the number 7 days in a week, the perfection that comes from the number 7. When you come to a place where you come into that perfection, you begin to understand that within your being, there are many members in your body. There are many different functions going on in your body at the same time. Again, you are majority 75% water, and even higher than that at the time of being conceived, being in the womb. And then if you think about it, even the 9 months or however long, for those that didn't go a full 9, or for those that went longer than the 9, that whole time that you're in the mother's womb, what are you surrounded by? You are surrounded by fluid. You are surrounded by water. You are surrounded and completely engulfed and entrenched, because the critical essence that water is, that's the way it is. So then understand, even when you come out and you're still 75% water, even when you come out, understand that within your being, you still have all of these different things that are operating and going on within your system, and it's all being conducted, it's all being regulated, it's all being dealt with by this same water. So within your own body, if you stop and think about it, you have a whole universe. So as 713 said, when you start talking about coming to a place of understanding, can I reword it my own way? So you've got to understand your own song, because each one of us has a frequency. Each one of us has a song, if I can say it in that way. Because again, if you're talking about all these different, if you're talking about what your heart does, what your liver does, what your pancreas does, what you go through and name all the different organs in the body, go through and name all the different bones in the body, go through, and by the time you get through all those systems, you are one compact universe, if I can explain it in that way. Then come to a point of understanding. You need to understand the different frequencies, because those frequencies and those vibrations are communicating with one another. Allow one of those systems to get dammed up. Allow one of those systems to get clogged. Allow one of those systems to stop vibrating as it should vibrate at the frequency that it's supposed to vibrate at, I might add. Allow any of those things to happen, and what you're going to find is you're going to begin to have sickness and disease in your body. Disease, I always have broken that down ever since I was a little kid. dis-ease. When you're not at ease, something is not fluid the way that it's supposed to be, then you're going to begin to have sickness and dis-ease in your body. Why does stress trigger so many things of illness in you? Because when stress causes you to be dis-ease or ill at ease or not at ease, when you're dis-eased, you will create disease. So as we get into this place of understanding how my universe comes together and how those frequencies are supposed to flow, and they overlap because everything is connected. There is a connection one to the other. And when you become disconnected from yourselves, therein lies a problem. That again is where you start having dis-ease happening in your body. So we look at ourselves as one big symphony of cosmic proportions. This is what Dr. Emoto called it. You are one big symphony of cosmic proportions. Now take that outside of yourselves and expand that to the world at large. And the same is true because all of us make up little parts to the bigger picture. The frequency of everything in the cosmos can be summarized in those 7 parts: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and ti. The frequency of everything in the cosmos. And he breaks this down. And again, I'm just doing overview. So go back, and as you're reading the book, go back and hone in on this area if it's not clear to you, but I'm hopefully helping to break down what he's talking about. Everything. Because what do we do when we look at music? Because he equates it to the music that we have, to a piano, to a keyboard. You have those 7 notes: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And those 7 notes, along with whether it's augmented, whether it's minor, whether you take it up a half step, whether you take it down a half step, whatever you do with it, it's still going to come from the root of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Those 7 principles right there. If we understand the frequency of everything in the cosmos is related to that, and using that piano as an example, the frequency doubles from one octave to the next. So I have at lower frequency, I have a C. But if I double that in frequency, I get the next octave of the note C. And then if I double that in frequency, good morning, Yoshi-san. Good to have you in there this morning. So much mad love to you. Then if I double that frequency again, I'll get another octave of the note C. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we're talking about do, because do represents the note C, or whatever that root might be. But most commonly, people can identify with C. So as I double, you're always going from one octave to the next octave, to the next octave, to the next office. Octave. Now, this is what I want to say, because listen, now, I'm gonna lose somebody here, but I want y'all to hear something, because some of you all are do, but your frequency may already be doubled and then quadrupled and so on and so forth. And I'm gonna say this to some of you because I want to try to help you understand yourselves. Because sometimes you wonder why, you're at your high frequency. I'm going to do this from a very easy, I think, comprehensible idea. Some of y'all are just the best, but y'all love them bad boys and them bad sisters. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you can relate to what I'm saying, there's some folk, it's just like, I don't care how. This is the way I am. And I see you, Rebel. I could have called you out by name, but I didn't. She loves them bad boys. That's all I can say. She loves them bad boys. And then the question begs to be answered. How can somebody operating at this frequency here be so in love with these bad boys that seem to be here? This is what I want you to understand. While you may be at the doubled octave, they are still going to be do, or if you're re, they're still going to be re. Stay with me. If you're mi, they're still going to be mi. If they're fa, they're still going to be fa. If they're so, they're still going to be so. If they're la, they're still going to be la. If they're ti, they're going to be ti. They're just at a lower octave. Do y'all understand understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Listen, you the bad girl, come on, Empress me out. It's just, it doesn't matter. But you still have to resonate, because we talk about resonance. There has to be the ability to resonate. Your husband is the nice guy. I hear you, Empress. So I want you to understand how those dynamics work and how that actually still operates with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and ti. That may be a different frequency. So this is what I want us to, come on, it's Riri. Come on, SK. Because at the end of the day, it's like, how can these things be? How can this person, but it still has to be resonance. And I do want to say that, because whether or not, and hear me when I say this, if you take a tuning fork and you take that tuning fork and you tune it for C, it doesn't matter what octave of the letter C you hit or do you hit. When you hit that tuning fork that's tuned for do, it's going to be on perfect pitch. Then take it up to the next octave. It's still going to hit on perfect pitch. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Then take it up to the next octave and hit that tuning fork. It's still going to hit on that same pitch. Now, when you know, and I've done this with tuning forks, I've also done this because I play guitar and mandolin. So I can sit down and figure out, I don't have to necessarily always have my tuner. I can, and listen to what I'm saying. I can look at the strings the same way that you look at a tuning fork or a tuning rod to see whether the pitch is on. The more vibration you have and the wilder the vibration is, the more it's off tune, the more it's off pitch. And it's not resonating as the note C. It's not resonating as the note do. It's not resonating. And what makes those notes is the frequency. That's exactly the letter, the sound A, the note A, the note C. It will always resonate at that exact frequency. It just depends on what octave you're at. So those frequencies will, come on, they will get attuned every now and then. And so this is where I want us to understand. When you begin to feel certain vibrations when you're in tuning mode. Now, let me say this. Every now and again, this is why we had Susan do the chakra balancing on last week. Listen to what I'm saying. I want you to hear me very closely. It's just like taking a piano or an instrument and tuning it. Because you can have those notes, but if those notes are not tuned on pitch, even though I may be playing that chord, if those notes are not tuned on pitch, you'll get some out of tune notes in there that it's the note, but because it's not on tune, it's sharp, it's flat, or it's even more than that. When that note is not on tune, it does not make beautiful music. Hear me when I say that. So this is why you have to come to this place of tuning and fine tuning yourselves. When you get and you hit that perfect tune, and I'm dealing with my mandolin. If I'm looking at my mandolin, I'll hit the two notes at the same time. They're going to be two different frequencies, but I hit those two notes. And if I see a real wild vibration, if I see that vibration on that string, if I see that string is just going crazy, I know I'm not on pitch. Hear me when I say that. If I see those notes, because it doesn't resonate, if I see those two notes and I hit them simultaneously and the strings are going crazy, or if I'm using a tuner and I just hit one string and I get this crazy wild vibration, I know that I'm not on pitch. And this is where I want fine tune yourselves, KK Michelle. That's exactly what I'm saying. Fine tune yourselves. Because even then, when I'm playing, if I'm playing with Susan, if I'm playing with Michelle, if I'm playing with Sassy Cassie, but I'm not fine tuned, even though if they need me to be, okay, so we know do, mi, and so make a chord. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. We know that do, mi, and so make a chord. If I'm do and mi and so are on pitch, but I'm do, I'm still going to make the sound that we do collectively sound horrible because I'm off pitch. Hear me when I say this. So I want you to understand even some of the calamity that we're looking at in the world. We have so many people out here that are off pitch. One journey, make it count. Good morning to you. So glad to have you. So if we understand the necessity for all of us to be on pitch, you got to fine tune yourselves. If I'm Doe and me and so are looking at me crazy, like we sounding good, but what you doing, Doe? What you doing? I need us to understand that for the world to operate in the harmony that it needs to have, and this is your world individually, but it also stands for your world collectively. If you are not tuned to yourself, and there's my 940 mirror, my 940 alarm right there, you got to pay attention to it. Now, the repeating of these 7 sounds expresses all the sound from the lowest. Can I say that? And let me stress it again, from the lowest to the highest. I can be Doe at a lower level, at a lower octave, but I'm still Doe. Then I can be Doe at middle Doe. I can be Doe at high Doe. I can be Doe all the way up. But I know anytime that I double my frequency, I'm going to hit another octave of myself. Now, resonance, I'm going to go through this real quickly because I want to finish this up. Sounds of the same frequency resonate. That's what I just talked to that with the tuning fork. Will create a single frequency and one sound wave. Listen, if your eye be single, because a double-minded man is unstable in all his way. Your eyes must be single. You got to resonate with yourself so you can create one frequency sound wave. Like attracts like, and vibrations attract. So please understand that. People who generate similar frequencies are attracted to each other. And then let me do this real quickly because I'm reclaiming the time. I'm on y'all's time. Winning without fighting. And I'm gonna close with here. Winning, where the boys at? Winning without fighting. This is one of the Japanese martial arts concepts. Is to not fight you, not to fight the enemy, not to go and expend all of their energy in resistance. They constantly are looking for the ability. So as we come to a point, many times what they'll do is they may respond or react or not respond at all because they understand that there is a power in winning without fighting, but avoiding resonating with the enemy. Avoiding resonating with the enemy. Why is this so powerful? It's the same idea. I said, when you're off pitch, I'm going to in concept, make your enemy someone that is off pitch, trying to come into. So here, if I use the Doe, so, and me that I talked about earlier as a chord, then really so and me would get rid of Doe and not try to fight me in that trio of harmonics. They're not going to fight me. They're just going to drop the Doe. You understand what I'm saying? They just going to drop the Doe. So they avoid resonating with the enemy. I'm not going to go through, and especially if you're not going to tune up, if you're not going to tune yourselves and get in tune with us, baby, we just going to drop you. So understand that there's so much winning when you do drop the fighting. When you understand resonance. Now that's a word for somebody. That's a word for somebody. Winning without fighting. Whatever's out of tune and refuse to tune up with your life, just drop it. Drop it. Or there may be a Doe further up the board that's in tune. You understand the words that's coming out of my mouth? There may be a Doe farther up the board that's in tune. You might need to go to another octave. You understand what I'm saying? You might need to fly higher. Understanding that I can win without fighting. I'm not going to expend all my energy trying to fight something that does not resonate with me. To fight and win results in the resonance with the enemy. The level of the relationship is very low. Frequencies fundamentally are incompatible cannot resonate. Frequencies fundamentally incompatible cannot resonate. And that's why you wonder why you get into situations and you're trying to resonate with certain people. It just does not work. Now, I'm gonna have to stop because I've really taken more minutes than I wanted to, because I've still got, can I read through this real quickly? Let me see how many more. Oh no, I still got 2 more slides. We'll come back and do those next week. I'm not going to get into that because I will not be able to give it the time that it needs. With that, I'm going to go ahead and relinquish this right now. And let's go ahead and come back to allowing those that are in class. You can unmute yourselves and talk. Those that are in the other platforms, you will not find the ability currently to be able to speak, but you can definitely type. You cannot speak, but you can definitely type. And I welcome you to do that as well. So reclaiming the text, how this impacted you, your takeaways, your thoughts, please go ahead and share. Just unmute yourselves and I'm going to come over. Let's see. I'm trying to, I want to come back and see some of the comments that you all said in the classroom. I see what's going on over here in Twitch. It's not a good fit. One journey, make it count. It's just not a good fit. I must understand my song. That's it right there. When 713 was saying getting to know yourselves, that's ultimately what 713 is saying from the context of this teaching. You've got to understand your song. And then, as you said, Sassy Cassie, allow it to flow. Understand your song and allow it to flow. This is the thing that the Rebel Inc. talks about so much, about being herself, and I did it my way. She understands, and I will say this about her, and this is something that I appreciate about her. She understands the need to be herself. She understands the need to sing her song and to let her song flow. And that is where the success lies, is when you understand your song and then allow your song to flow. That's where success comes. So those frequencies will get off tune every now and then. That is absolutely correct. And when they are, okay, I'm trying to read past all these different things. I'm reading around. Exactly, Susan. And listen, my mandolin can get off just by temperature in the rooms changing. If I go into a hot room and then go into a cold room, it has an effect on the tension of my strings. And it's the tension of the strings that tune those strings. And those strings can get out of tune, or me playing over a span of time and playing. And Rebel Inc. said, ooh, you get to playing hard. I get on that mandolin, child, and I just go for it. If you start playing hard on those strings, and never go back and retouch them and fine tune them, they will get out of tune. So there's so many different things that impact and make a difference on that. I'm coming down. First lesson in martial arts. Come on here. Winning without fighting. Match your frequency. Thank you for that, Susan. I tell young ladies that are dating to find your frequency in the young man first and foremost. Come on with that. Appreciate you, Sassy Cassie. Come on, truck driver. You said here lately. It scrolled away from me. Let me come back up. Your frequencies have been out of tune for a minute. I hear you. And sometimes we just got to hear it. And you can hear it. You know, if you got an ear, he that has an ear to hear, if you've got an ear and can hear, you can hear when that note is out of tune. You can hear when that note is off pitch. I'm telling you, you can hear it and you can see it. I'm going to even take it to all of your senses. You can see it as well, because if you see everything in your world just vibrating frantically and just all out of control, I'm telling you, when you get resonance on a note, it will be single and it will become still. It will become still. So even when you begin to talk about, and that's how you can tell by a tuning rod or a tuning fork, or even tuning your guitar and looking at the strings, when those strings become still, you've got resonance coming through. Now, somebody's on here who wants to unmute yourself. Is that Dr. Dady Priest? Are you unmuted? Go right ahead. No. Let's see. Okay. Anybody else? Rebel said, baby, the Saints be flat and sharp. Flat and sharp. I'm here to tell you. And it's hard to stomach. It's really hard to endure when you have people that are just not on pitch. It can really be very challenging to the ears. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Let me come up and come out and let me see. Somebody said something. You saw it. Look, I hear you, Truck. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. You saw it. Anybody that wants to talk, come on and unmute yourselves. You know how we do it in the Institute. Go ahead and unmute yourselves. And I'm going to listen to what you have to say. I'm looking. Dr. Dady, you're unmuted. I didn't know if you wanted to speak or are you just happen to be, if you just happen to be unmuted. Okay, I think she just happens to be unmuted. Anyone else in the class that wants to unmute yourself? Michelle, isn't that the cracks? The Saints be flat and sharp. Y'all, any of us in the music arena, especially at church or, out there in these streets, you know the torture of hearing somebody that's flat and or sharp, and God forbid both at the same time. It's like you want to take oh my God, you just can't take it. Anybody that wants to share, go ahead and unmute yourself and I'll acknowledge you.
Okay, well, I'll say something. This is Fairly All Day. Susan, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say that it's so very important that we match our frequencies when we're dating. I said for the young ladies, and I always tell that to the young ladies, but I also say it to my older queens that are out here dating as well. It's so important that we match our frequencies, because as much as we may enjoy and love being with the bad boys, if you're not going to match frequencies with that bad boy, there are going to be problems. And I'm talking from experience. There are going to be problems because your frequency is what you carry, period. It's a part of you. It's a part of your DNA. It's who you are. It's what makes you. So whenever you try to vibrate with someone that's not in the same frequency, your resonancy will not be compatible. It may line up for a moment, but eventually there's going to be some off tune, flat, sharp, everything else going on with that. So I just caution, as a cautionary tale to ladies and men, the same goes for men. Just make sure you're matching your frequencies, or make sure that their frequency can come up to your frequency. I always say, you hold strong to your standard. Why lower yourself to someone else's standard? That's merely saying, why vibrate at a lower frequency just to match those of others? So I just encourage people to maintain your frequency, and let people match your frequency rather than you, quote, dummying down, for lack of a better way of putting it, to someone else's frequency. And for those that are off balance, then I highly recommend that you check what's going on around you. Check your environment. Check the vibrations that are around you, the frequencies that are around you. Is someone around you that's putting off poor energy, and the likes, so that you can isolate yourself, get yourself back in balance with your frequency, tune yourself back to your frequency so that you can begin to operate and move smoothly.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I do want to say, yes, absolutely, positively. Even if as I was talking about the difference between dough at a lower frequency and dough at a higher frequency, it's still going to be 256 hertz. If I look at the C, I went out here and looked this up because I wanted to make it sure that I had it right. So a C is going to always be a C. And at the point that you get something that is not a multiple of 256 doubled, quadrupled, or whatever, you've now gone to a whole nother note. Middle C, that's exact. Come on here, Empress. Middle C is 256 hertz. So the minute you go to another frequency that is not a multiple or a divider, a division, what do we want to say, a factor of 256 hertz, you're on another note. So please hear me, and I appreciate, thank you so much for that, Fairly. If they're not on your note, because even if you're going lower as far as octave, the octave is still the same note. And I think a lot of times we get linked up with stuff that's not our note. We get linked up, and I'm not even going to leave it to just your partners and mates. I'm going to say friendships. I'm going to say business acquaintances. I'm saying jobs. I'm saying, listen, start living a life where you live in resonance. We live so much of our world outside of resonance and then wonder why it's catastrophic. I believe it's called a cacophony. We've heard of a symphony, but a cacophony, if I remember correctly, I believe is just like a din of noise of all the instruments playing at the same time indiscriminately. You can't tell one note from another. It's almost like what we used to do. I was in concert band. My sisters and I, we all played in concert band and marching band. And right before the concert would start, everybody would pick up their instrument. And typically what was happening, people would work on the parts of the music that they did not have perfected, or they wanted to go back and refresh themselves before you got into the actual concert. So you have all of this noise. That's a cacophony. All this noise is going on at the same time. And then you'd see the conductor come to the stand, tap the baton on the stand, and then raise his hand. First thing you do, you have to tune. The first thing you would do was that you had to tune concert B flat, and it was a different note for everybody depending on what instrument you were playing. I played a B flat tenor saxophone, so my concert B flat was C. If you had an E flat alto sax, that was everybody had to find their note. And then you had to tune. You had to make sure before you started off in your various parts that you were still in tune. But going back to the concept of the note, a C is still a C. I don't care what octave you're in. So pay attention. You've got to make sure that, again, 256 hertz for middle C, and then anything from that is going to be a multiple or a factor of going down. And again, every time you double it, you're going to another octave. Every time you double that frequency, you're going to another octave. So you got to make sure that C and D is two different notes. If the conductor raises his baton and says concert B flat, and my concert B flat on the B flat tenor saxophone is a C, and I start playing an F, I'm going to be out of tune. I'm just telling you, if it's a whole daggum different note, I'm going to be out of tune. So please pay attention, because the same note is the same note. You're just getting multiples of that as it doubles up or doubles down. So make sure it's the same note. Please make sure it's the same note. And therein lies relationship problems at any level. At any level, if it's friendships, God forbid that it be your significant intimate other. But if it's anything, make sure that those frequencies are in resonance. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to get all that vibration that's going all over the board, and it's just going to be crazy. So thank you so much for that, Susan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else that wants to unmute, please do. Please do. Please do. I hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sassy Cassie. Come through.
Yes, I'm so honored to be where I need to be to learn what I need to learn. My frequencies, I would say, and my pitch have been off key for so long, but the more I align and the higher frequencies and the better my pitch becomes, life is beautiful. And I'm enjoying the change.
Come through.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm in Branson right now, sitting out here looking at some beautiful water, letting the sun, getting God's free vitamin D. And I'm telling you, I'm keeping my earplugs close in case I pity the fool now that wants to come around me this off key.
Shut it down.
Look, I'm keeping my earplugs and my gun ready. But no, I'm very thankful for the change that's been ushered in my life because I'm here and I'm learning. God bless you.
God bless you, Sassy Cassie. I gotta say to that, I love it, and I love you. That is so awesome, and you enjoy yourself out there in Branson because that's nature all everywhere you look. I want to say to you, Sassy Cassie, too, because Tall Pumps is not here. Her daughter, I put her chat in earlier. She came in before class started and said her daughter has, she's in tournaments today. So I told her, listen, I told Fallon, go out there and show them who you are. But she said she misses you guys and the richness. And Sassy Cassie, both of you, listen, she said she just loves being able to hear what you bring to the table. And every time it's always something good. Rebel, she said she's strapped. Please understand it. She's strapped and locked and loaded. Please understand it. I love you, sis. And every time you share, it just blesses my whole being. Thank you for that. Anybody else, please unmute yourself. We've still got some minutes left on the clock to reclaim the text and to share or share again. For some of you that have already shared, feel free to share again. Mother is ready, Rebel. Mother is ready. Come on. Anybody else that wants to go ahead and unmute yourself and come right on. Kai Chick, go right ahead.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I'll just be very brief. Thank you so much for the lessons. A lot of things that I didn't understand are made more clear to me, especially with the fine-tuning my frequency and I would say unblocking the static maybe in my frequency. I had to do that a lot in the workplace this week, and I'm a little tired, but the end result, it was very positive. And again, I thank you so much, spiritual thought leader, for helping me to break out of fear and to stand up for myself. And it's just been a lot of hard work, and I'm still working on things and moving forward. But I thank you so much, just the same, because I am finally getting results.
Listen, you are the result maker, and you are more than welcome. You are the result maker, Kai Chick, because I mean, you have stood your ground and implemented every element and aspect of boss energy that we have talked about and taught. You are a sojourner for the right. Come on, Freddie. You are a sojourner, sis. And I love it. I love it. I love it. And it is manifesting. And that's the beauty of it. Every time you come back and you share how powerful you are in standing, even at times when I know it has been a tremendous challenge and a tremendous sacrifice to yourself. And you know what? Tuning is really you're adjusting your, particularly on guitar, you're adjusting tension. Your embouchure, and you for those that play instrument like saxophone, it depends on how far in or how far out you push that mouthpiece. That's how you tune. How far in, how far out you push that mouthpiece. The same with the trumpet. My sisters, all of us play instruments. My BTD mom plays the trumpet. How far out you pull that little valve. You pull that valve out. So whether you're changing the mouthpiece, you're pulling the valve out. For drummers, as a drummer, for a guitar player, it's all about the tension. You're adjusting the tension. And I'm saying this for a reason, because this is how we can retune or fine tune or recalibrate ourselves. Push that mouthpiece in, pull that mouthpiece out. I'm saying something here. Push that mouthpiece in for woodwinds, pull that mouthpiece out. That's how you tune. For the brass section, pull those valves in, push those valves out. That's how you fine tune. For drums, for guitars, any kind of strings, tension, tighten that thing up or release the tension. All of those are factors as to how we tune those instruments. Even a piano, if you pull and lift the lid. If it's a baby grand, a lot of times you can see it. You understand that's also a string instrument. It's just a series of strings set at different lengths. But again, how do you tune it? It's all about the tension on those strings. Either tighten it up or release it. So there's a word right there. There's a word right there. DJ Rock and Ron, come on in here. Good morning to you. We're having Institute for Higher Consciousness. Thank you for coming in. We're about to wrap up, but just want to go here. So it's about the fine tuning. And again, depending on what kind of instrument you're on, again, for the woodwinds, it's all about that mouthpiece. For the woodwinds, it's all about that mouthpiece. Either you push that mouthpiece in or you pull that mouthpiece out. For the brass, it's all about your valves. You either push that valve in or you pull that valve out. That's what determines that fine tuning of the pitch. For strings and for percussion, if you're going to get beat on, you understand what I'm saying? If they're beating you up, it's all about the tension. Fine tune that tension. Either release some of that tension and loosen it up, or pull it together and get tight. That's how you fine tune those instruments. So just pay attention. And again, different instruments, different methods, different types require, you can't do everything the same way. I can't, if I'm percussion, if I'm a piano, if I'm string, if I'm not doing what needs to be fine-tuned according to those instruments, then I'm still effective. I've got to do what I need to do given the situation. So I hope that helps somebody there. But I want you to understand that different measures call for different responses and reaction. Make an assessment and make sure that you're doing the tuning that you need to do that's appropriate to what you need to do for that fine tuning, because all tuning is not the same. Okay. But thank you for that. And I love you, Kai Chick. You just keep on keeping on. I love you, sis. You are just, I say it all the time. You're like the poster child of boss energy. I just love it, love it, love it. Keep doing you.
I love you too, spiritual thought leader. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. You are the thanks is really to you, sis.
And thank you for all the encouragement from the Lions as well. Thank you so much.
Blessings.
If the support means a lot.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Anybody else that wants to unmute? Anybody else that wants to share on this morning? We got a few minutes left. We get out of here at the 10:15 hour. Listen, BTD Mom said something earlier. Yoshi son, it's good to have you. And it tickled me. The discordant chord must resolve at some point. You need harmony. Come on here, SK8843. The discordant chord must resolve at some point. You need harmony. And there are times when you have dissonance, but dissonance always has to resolve. It has to resolve, or it just almost send you over the edge. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. It must be resolved. I'm going to say it once more and again. It must be resolved. That discordant chord must be resolved so we can get into a place of harmony. BTD Mom said, unmute if you're not flat or sharp. You're so silly. Unmute she's telling the truth. Unmute if you're not flat or sharp. And I'm going to say this even in response to that. Sometimes and I'm going to say this to my Mufasa, and sometimes that you might be flat or sharp, and sometimes you need to just lay out until you can get yourself tuned in. It's as simple as that. And it's cool. That's cool. Sometimes if you know that you are just really, really, really flat, or you're really, really, really sharp, and you've done everything that you can do to tune, and for whatever reason that you may need a whole instrument repair, I don't know. But if you cannot, until you can get tuned, lay out. And that's a word. And to go to the other side of it, that's it. And that's all, Rebel. To go to the other side of that, understand that sometimes when people move on in life, yourselves included, but take this from the side of the flip side. Sometimes people need to, because that E flat worked in the key of E flat, but we just modulated to F. And so E flat in the key of F no longer works in that key. And it doesn't always even mean that you're out of tune. You're just not in that key anymore. Y'all understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? It's not always even a matter that you're out of tune, but it does become out of tune to that key. E flat in the key of F does not work. F has a B flat, not an E flat. Unless you're putting it in as what we call an accidental. You accidentally put it in here and there because you want to make a different sound. But otherwise, a E flat does not work in the key of F. F operates off of a B flat. So if E flat is working all day in the key of E flat, absolutely. But move it up one whole step. And just because you modulated and went up one whole step, that E flat no longer works. Some of you all need to come into that reality for your lives as well. That E flat in the key of F, even though we just went up one step, hear me when I say this, and so that you are not devastated, traumatized, and tore up, just because you moved up one step from E flat to F, E flat is no longer in that key. E flat now becomes, even though you're in tune, you're in tune to the piano, but you have now become out of tune to the key that we're playing in. I need somebody to get that down in your shando. I feel that in my spirit. Unless you're transposing, Michelle. But if you transpose, understand when you transpose, you're transposing the whole entire board. Please let people be it well understood, Michelle Browno. When they transpose, they're transposing the whole entire board. So again, if you are the whole board, Rebel, folks need to understand that and be clear. When you transpose, you just transpose the whole entire board, not just for that key. So I'm going to say that once more and again, because sometimes we have reactions when we don't need to have a reaction. If in fact, I'm perfectly in tune, but we just went from the key of E flat and went a whole step up to the key of F. I no longer am relevant to this key signature. So there you have it. One key Willie has shown up, Shelly Thunder. One key Willie has just shown up. So with that, I'm going to give one more opportunity. Anybody else? I see you, Truck. Go ahead. I see you. Go ahead, sir.
Just gonna bring the joke of the day to my auntie, Sassy Cassie. All the guns and bullets that she don't have, I got your back. That's all I got to say.
Truck said he's here for the smoke. Sassy Cassie, you got backup, baby. You are not alone. Y'all silly. Thank you, Truck. That's my Mufasa. That's my Lion King. Please believe it. He does not play when it comes to the lions. Come on, Sassy. I see you.
I just want to tell my brother and Thug Life leader that I appreciate him and thank you and I love you.
Y'all too much. Y'all too much. I swear. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. We got 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left. Listen, y'all got me dying in here. He's strapped. All the babies are strapped. Listen, don't mess with the lion's den, because listen, bullets and Bibles. That's what we got over here, Rebel. Bullets and Bibles. Listen, KK, Truck is securing the den. Please believe it. Truck is securing the den. Oh my God. Y'all too much. One key Willie's on fleek. SK8843. I love you all. We got 3 minutes left. If anybody wants to share, this once again has been the Institute for Higher Consciousness. I will come back next week and we will finish in class. This was our 1 week B&B, Bullets and Bibles. That's what we got, Empress Meow. We will come back next week and we will conclude with resonance. on next week, and then we'll go on to the next chapter. Again, I want to appreciate everybody that came in this morning. This is our open session. We have an open session once a month. One journey, make it count. You're absolutely correct. We have one session per month that we open up to everybody. BTD Mom, we love you. We love having you in the class. Love you guys. To everybody out there and the others, I saw, listen, Facebook was in the house today. Twitch was in the house today. YouTube. I appreciate you all coming from all the different platforms on today to get this one open session per month. Yoshi son, I love me some you, sir. I love me some you. And thank you for going back to look at the on demand. I appreciate you, man. You're just such a blessing, such a blessing, such a blessing. With that being said, 2 minutes left. Anybody? I didn't see anybody unmute. I was kind of giving you a second to unmute if you wanted to. It looks like all hearts and minds are clear. All hearts and minds are clear. Jesus, take the wheel. I see you, Empress Meow. It was good to have you today, sis. So much mad love to you. Now, listen, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a lovely opportunity to share with you on today. Please open up your ears to hear. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about your physical ear that hears from this hurts to this hurts. I want you to open up all your senses. I want you to undam yourselves. As Sassy Cassie brought us when we first started this teaching, well, I'll be undamned. That's what I want you to do to yourself on today. I want you to undam yourself. And I love you guys. Have an absolutely great day. And thank you once more and again for coming into the Institute for Higher Consciousness. I appreciate every last one of you. Mad love to you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as Shelly Thunder always says, have an amazing day. And in this instance, have an amazing weekend on purpose. We love y'all.